Okay, in this lesson what we're going to take a look at is Angular forms, and specifically we want to give the users the ability to fill out this very small form, click the button to log in and actually receive the token back from the server. So what we'll do is, one of the good things about Angular is it's a framework. It comes with just about everything you need to create the type of application that we're creating here. And one of the things it provides is a forms module. So what we'll do is we'll go to our app module, and what we need to add to our imports here is the forms module from Angular. Now, nothing ever seems to work with automatic import inside here, so what we need to do is add this in manually, and we'll go up to the top and we'll say import, and we'll say forms module from, and then we say @Angular, and it would help if I spell import correctly, and we say @Angular and forms. And now we have the forms module available for us to use in any of our components in our application. So what we'll do is we'll go across to our navcomponent.ts. Now Angular provides two-way binding. That means we can bind data or properties in our component and display them in our template, and we can also go the other way round as well. We can take data from something that's entered in a form and update something inside our component. That's known as two-way binding. So what we'll do is we'll create a class property to store what the user enters into the form. We're not going to worry about TypeScript just now, and we're going to give this a type of any, and we're going to initialize this to an empty object. And then what we'll do is we'll create a method inside here called login, and what we'll do inside this method is we'll simply log out to the console the values that we receive from the form. So what we'll log out is this.model, and then we can go to our form, and we need to tell this form element that it's going to be an Angular form. And the way that we do this is we first of all we give it what's known as a template reference variable, and we do that by using the hash, and then we give our form a name, and we're going to call it login form, and we're going to set this equal to ng form, and this means now that this form is an Angular form. What we also get when we make this an Angular form is we get a method we can use to submit the form data, and this is called ng-submit, and what we can set this equal to is our login method that we created in the component. And what we'll also do in this form, because it's annoying if we don't do this, is we'll also set the autocomplete to off. And let's just rearrange things so that I don't go off the end of the screen. So that takes care of the form and the form submission. Now this button is a type of submit. And when there's a submit button inside some form tags, that means that when we either click the button or we press enter, then the ng-submit function is going to be called. Now we just need to take care of our inputs. And let's just rearrange things inside here so that we line things up a bit more cleanly, because we're going to add a few elements to each of these inputs. Now what we need to do when we want to use two-way binding is two things. We need to give our input a name, and in this case it's going to be the name of the property that we want to track, and the first one is going to be username. And what we also need to do, and this is where Angular snippets come in useful, if I just say a-ng model, then this gives us the structure of what we need for two-way binding. This ng model is sometimes referred to as a banana in a box, because we've got the square brackets and then we've got parentheses inside it. And the square brackets are typically used for receiving from our components, and the parentheses are used when data goes the other way. So when we submit, for instance, we're going from our template to our component. When we see square brackets, that means we're receiving something from our component. When we see both, that means we've got two-way binding between our template and our component. And the ng model, we need to give the name of our object. Now we've declared a property called model in our component, so what we're going to say that this is the model.username. And then we just need to do the same thing for our password as well. So I'm just going to tidy things up again in here. And what I'll do is just give this a name equal to password. And once again, I'll just use a-ng model. And we'll set this to model.password. And what we should be able to do now is go and take a look and make sure that we can receive the data from our form when we submit it. So I'm just going to go back to the browser, and we'll need to open up the console to check this. And we'll go into the console, and if I just start typing any random letters inside here and click login, then we can see the values populated inside there. If I just add more values and I just press enter, then we don't even need to click the button because of the ng submit functionality. Either way will work just fine. So great, now we've got a form where we can take the values that the user enters and display them, at least in our console. What we want to do next is take a look at Angular services, because that's what we're going to use from now on to deal with HTTP requests up to our server.